My original plan for today was to start planting out my seedlings, but I don't know what the weather might do overnight slash tomorrow. I think I'm gonna hold off at least for another day, but we still need to take everything outside. The atmosphere definitely feels like it could produce a storm. It is very humid out here and about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So the plan for today, since I'm not gonna plant my seed starts just because we have a slight chance for hail and we're supposed to have really strong winds. So I don't wanna just like throw them outside, even though they are hardened off, and that be their first night. So I am going to place all of my seedlings around though where I think I'm gonna plant them. I wanna have a really good idea going into planting day with all of my seed starts. And then after that, I think I'm gonna start direct sowing a few areas. I wanna try to get the trellis tunnel done for the most part. Obviously, we still have half of the tunnel that we need to build out now since we extended it. But I currently have peas over here and I'm going to be planting loofah stars and also green beans. Other than that, I have a ton of direct sowing. I'll probably share with you guys all the varieties I'm gonna do direct sow wise, and kind of the plan with all of that. But today's kind of place everything, plan everything, maybe plant a little bit of things, and we'll see what all we get to. But typically I really shoot for that first week of May. So I am a little bit early, but our weather is perfect. So with my frost tender things, I like to wait until we are averaging in the 50s and 60s at night, especially for tomatoes and peppers, just because they like a lot more warmer weather and things like that. So we are officially in that little bubble, and I'm really excited to officially get the garden planted. So last year, you may recall, I had a ton of volunteer sunflowers. They were wild sunflowers, so they had honestly probably like 100 blooms per sunflower. It was crazy, but they were really, really hard to see when they were going to seed because they were the sunflowers that have really, really small seeds. And I literally have hundreds of sunflowers popping up right now. I had a bunch popping up where I planted the poppies and the peas, but I think I got most of those weeded out. I did save a few just because I think they're going to be really fun. They were a really fun addition last year, but I would drag them over to this little area when they were starting to show signs of probably going to seed. And honestly, I have sunflowers popping up all over here, which I'm really excited about. We have probably like 15 right here. I'll probably just save one of them, maybe two, but they go all along this wood pile too. And I think it'd be really cool if they pop up right here to go ahead and let them grow, because it would help block out this corner and just give us a little bit more privacy during summer. And honestly, I haven't had much grow in this corner because I said in a few videos back, there was a dead tree that was right here that finally got cut down. So we added the 4x4 bed, which you might see, and we also added the L. So we've been really at work trying to get everything ready to go for the gardening year. So here is our L. It's a 16 by 11 by 3 foot. So that's going to give me a lot more growing space this year as well. And then we also got some soil to top off the garden beds throughout. Okay, so there's a few things I didn't worry about really spacing or planting around quite yet. That's the zinnias, the cosmos, the dahlias, but I did go ahead and place all of my peppers and all of my tomatoes, my tomatillos, my loofahs, because those are the main things I really wanted to make sure I had exactly where I wanted them to be, and then place any extras off to the sides. And it's looking like my plan of doing 1 to 2 extras really worked out. That way I can be a little bit choosy with the seed starts, and then I ended up adding all that extra space. So my plan is now I'm going to take pictures of all the areas, and I'm going to put all of the seedlings together in their own tray and label it to where they're at. That way when it comes to me planting these out, I can easily just put the varieties on where I wanted them, and I'm not going through and doing all of this organization again. But anyway, I have some tomatillos over here, I have my romas over here, and then all of my jalapenos. habaneros, serranos, cayennes. All the pink is paprika. All these black pots are different types of bells. The purple pots are Inca Jewels, and then these orange ones are Supremo. So these ones I can plant a little bit closer together because they're shorter, compact varieties. This is pretty similar to how I actually had all of this set up last year. So I had the Snapdragons right there, and I had Romas, Supremos, and Incas, but I have more Incas this year and Supremos than I do Romas. They produce a lot and they're a little bit smaller, so I can plant a little bit more, and I get a lot off of them. At least I hope. Last year was my best tomato year I have ever had, so I'm really hoping for a repeat on that. Okay, so I have quite the stack here of things I plan to direct sow. There are a few things in here like okra and corn that I won't be doing until the garlic and the onions come out of the garden, but I am really excited. So I wanted to share with you guys what I am going to be direct sowing throughout. So this is a variety called Naval. It's a pelleted carrot. I really like to direct seed with pelleted carrots. They have a clay coating around them that just makes it a lot easier to place them. So with that said, when I lined my beds like I did last year along where I had the tomatoes, I feel like the edging of these beds they get a lot drier. So I feel like the carrot really was reaching for any type of water. So I got these beautiful, huge carrots last year. They were probably my best carrots I've ever grown. So that is the plan for carrots. And I really like that because it allows me to add something else to a bed and I get like another thing out of that. So then I also have the teddy bear sunflowers. So you guys know I absolutely love, where are they at? The Goldie Honey Bear sunflowers. So these Goldie Honey Bears, they get to be roughly, I would say, about 5 foot in height, and they have all these beautiful branches of these fuzzy sunflowers, and really, really fun. So the teddy bear is a short variety. I think these only get up to 3 feet tall. So I really wanted to add these behind the garlic. I'm really trying to figure out all of my different heights because I would really like the garden to build into the trellises with the different heights, even though the garlic will be harvested, gosh, so soon, the first week of June, roughly. And I thought these teddy bears would be really pretty because then I also wanted to have Goldies around. I do have a few Goldie volunteers throughout. There's one over here and there's one in front of that trellis. So I'm doing those. And since we're on the topic of sunflowers, I got some Mongolian giants this year. These are supposed to get really, really tall. I think these get like 12 to 14 feet in height. There was one year I had the tallest sunflower I ever grew, and it was right around 14 feet. It was really hard to measure, but this thing was massive, and I've never grown a sunflower that big ever since. So like I said, I have some okra in here, but I'm not going to be planting out okra in this first wave. I do need to find somewhere to throw some dill around. Ooh, and I'm excited about this one. So I asked you guys for any type of varieties you knew that were either more vine borer resistant or had a tolerance to them. And a lot of you guys said to look for a certain variety, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce this. I will put it across the screen. This type of squash apparently has a thinner vine that's a little bit more resistant to the vine borer. And I will say I've had very good luck with the honey nut variety. I will say I still definitely deal with squash bugs, but I really like this honey nut variety and I will be growing this again. But this year I'm excited to add the Long Island cheese pumpkin, and hopefully maybe this will be the first year I will ever successfully grow pumpkins. I'm already like trying to mentally prepare myself for all of the squash bug issues I'm going to have. But with that being said, squash bugs, I randomly read, so I do not like marigolds. I don't care for them. I don't really think they're pretty. And I put them in my garden 1 year, and after that I just really haven't done anything marigold wise. So anyway, I randomly was reading up different things about squash bugs, and apparently marigolds can really help deter squash bugs. So I got some marigold seeds to direct sow near them. Or maybe I will put them in some pots and place them around. But I did get some marigolds for that reason, just because squash bugs are such a problem. So I am also going to grow corn again this year, which will be one of those second waves. I think I'm gonna put corn where the onions are. So that first week of July is when I will roughly harvest the onions out, and then I can plant corn then. I think that'll work really well right there. This variety did really well for me last year. It was my first successful time ever growing corn. It's the Natural Sweet XR sweet corn. So I got some of that. I have some cucumber varieties in here that I need to plant. I have some nasturtiums, and then I have a bunch of beans. So I'm gonna get the loofah planted tonight, and I'm gonna go ahead and plant out my green beans over there as well. I have the Seychelles again, and then wherever, I think I will have plenty of Seychelles seeds. I really liked these ones last year. In the past, I've grown Blue Lake, and also I think it's Kentucky Wonder. I wanna say those are probably bush varieties, but this is a F1 pole variety, so they like crossed it and everything. But I really liked the Seychelles, so I'm gonna grow that again. And I really liked putting this on my back trellis because it filled out really, really quickly. Oh, and then I have my Hales Jumbo Cantaloupe here. I saved seeds, I want to say 3 years ago, from one of my largest cantaloupes, and these have been my tried and true. All right, so plan for over here is our loofahs, and then I'm going to do green beans all throughout here. Oh, and I'm also going to do this red noodle bean as well. I think these look really fun. They're really long, and yeah, 12 to 24 inches long. So that seems really fun, just something new to try. See, excellent for stir fries. We love stir fry. I have one other bean here that looks really cool. They're non-edible, and I actually thought about putting them on my A-frame. They're supposed to be really good for pollinators, and they look really, really pretty. And I loved the vibe they gave. So I'm still considering it. I don't know. I put them in my pocket just because I accidentally grabbed them, but that is one of those I think will be fun as well. So you know what didn't happen last night? Storms. We got a little 20-minute storm this morning, but nothing that they were really forecasting ended up happening at all. So I would have been completely fine planting these out all yesterday. But we're gonna plant them out today. So I'm adding bone meal over here. I'm also going to add worm casting. So when I tested my soil a few weeks ago, I was low in phosphorus and nitrogen, and bone meal is great for both of those. It's also good for calcium, which is really good for your tomatoes. At least I have found that to be the case. So this is one of the areas I haven't amended. I've amended everything else but this so far. So I'm just adding bone meal, and I'm gonna go through and add some worm castings as well. And then we're gonna start planting everything. Worm castings also add to the nitrogen, and then as you guys saw yesterday, I feed with that fish and seaweed fertilizer, which is a 1-to-1, 1 nitrogen, 2 phosphorus, and 1 potassium. So I typically try not to add a lot of potassium to my garden because for the last, I want to say 3 years, my garden has tested high for potassium. So I try to really just add bone meal and worm castings, and that seemed to work really well so far. So I'm going to start back here on the L. This area actually shades out first, which will just kind of help with the stress of the plants. And I'm gonna work my way through. We're already at 5 o'clock, so honestly, we're in the afternoon. I'm gonna get these planted. If you are not new to gardening, you definitely know this, but if you are new to gardening, tomatoes have these little hairs on their stems, and if you plant them a little bit deeper, those hairs will turn into roots. I really won't be planting my tomatoes that much more deep just because I really don't need to. But one thing I will do is here in about a week or two, once the tomatoes just establish themselves and gain more size, get more leaves on them, I will prune off all of these bottom leaves, and that will help with airflow, and it will also help just manage disease in the garden. So tomatoes are a little bit more tricky when it comes to disease problems than a lot of other things, and I have found that by pruning off those bottom leaves, it really just helps me with disease problems a little bit longer. I'm gonna work my way through. I'm gonna get things up like tomato cages and stakes to help support everything. And yeah, I'm planting all determinate varieties of tomatoes. I guess I should say that. So I like doing all bush style tomatoes. So one thing is that you might actually notice in this whole thing is I have just one line of tomatoes right here, and then I actually have them double through the strip. And one reason for that is these are traditional Romas, which I have found just take up and need a lot more space than some of my hybrid varieties. So I have two other varieties called Supremo and Inca Jules, and those are more compact varieties of Romas. And I have found that I can plant those a little bit closer together and really not have an issue because they just don't bush out or get as tall. So that is one reason why I also put the tomatillos back here as well. This will allow them just to take up as much room as they please. And then I'm going to line this whole area with carrots. I think the only other thing I'm going to be able to get done tonight is getting carrots planted. So I have my carrots here, and I'm going to line some of these beds. I'm gonna line this back one here. I have some March right here with the peppers, and I have pelleted seed here, so you might be able to see they're these little round seeds that have a clay coating on them, and that just allows me to be able to space things a lot easier. Carrot seeds are very tiny, and I have found that typically I don't have to thin out anything either. But we're gonna get these planted. I'm gonna get everything mulched and watered, and I think that's going to be it. I'll get all of this done, and then I will have some direct sowing with the trellises tomorrow, and then I need to get more dirt for my pots and then the trellis area and that 4x4 over there. Nice work, girls. We got 5 today. Check that out. I've been wondering when these are going to bloom. These are irises that I was gifted last year that I planted, I want to say sometime around midsummer or so. I've been really excited to see them bloom. Well, the sun is going to be going down in just a handful of minutes. I definitely worked as long as I possibly could. I did not get everything I wanted to get planted in the last 2 days planted, but we got a lot knocked out. There's been so much time, effort, and planning to get to where I currently am in this garden. I've been planning since November of 2024. So it really feels good to get so much checked off. I feel very accomplished right now. But I'm going to work on getting the rest of this garden planted over the next handful of days. And I will see you guys all next week for the first garden tour of the 2025 season. I will go over everything I've planted, varieties, and I will walk you guys through the entirety of my season. I think this is for the 6th year in a row doing garden tours. So I'm really, really excited to take you guys along for that. But as always, I will link a few videos here that you might be interested in, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.